The Washington Wizards were one of the surprise stories early on in the season. They shot themselves up atop of the Eastern Conference when they were a team that most people expected to be a play-in team or not even in the play-in like I did. They had a great start, led the Eastern Conference, but are now starting to fall a little bit more back to earth and probably in and around where this group truly should be at. In and around what probably is going to project them to be a play-in team. So let's go ahead and talk about why I think the Wizards are going to end up there, why their recent play has brought them there, and what has changed from when they were so dominant at the start of the year to where they are now. Let's go ahead and talk about it, and why the Washington Wizards have struggled over this last little stretch. Okay, so let's just throw out a few numbers here. Fifth seed in the Eastern Conference, they are currently 15-11, 8-3 at home, and 7-8 on the road. They've only won 4 of their last 10. Throughout the season, their offensive rating puts them at 21st, which is not that high for a team that is doing as well as they have been. And their defensive rating is only 14th, but yet they have a top 5 seed in the East. Numbers don't quite add up. Not that they always have to, but they don't. A net rating of negative 0.6 for this team. For a team that's 4 games over 500 is a little bit fishy and speaks to being a little bit of an inflated record. When you look at their last 10 games specifically, they are still 21st in offensive rating, but they are 25th in defensive rating, which is just absolutely abysmal, and negative 6.1 net rating throughout that stretch. And now, are the Wizards probably a bottom third of the league team on offense and defense? No, probably not, but they're also probably not that much better. Now, Wizards fans, let me explain. I don't think the Wizards are bad. I definitely don't think they're bad. I had too low of expectations for them coming into the year. I didn't think they were going to be even part of the play-in conversation, but I undervalued how much the depth on this group would be impactful in the regular season. And I do think the Wizards now are going to be in and around the play-in spot. Part of it due to their good start and them just being in a good enough position now that they can have a little bit of a worse record the rest of the way than some other teams and see themselves in and around the 8 to 10 seeds, which is kind of where I think they're going to end up at this point. But they have not gotten anywhere near as good a play throughout the year as they have now hoped for after seeing what they got at the start of the year. Bradley Beal has just never really found his groove yet this year. He has not played anywhere near as well as we have seen over the last couple of years. Kyle Kuzma has gotten a lot of hype for being this new, rejuvenated, exciting player in Washington. But the numbers don't really add up for that from a scoring standpoint. He's actually less efficient than he has been the last couple of years with the Lakers. He's improved a little bit from a playmaking standpoint, a bit on defense, a bit from rebounding. But from a scoring standpoint, he's made some big shots for this group. But overall, from an efficiency standpoint, especially of late, he just hasn't really been any better. That's just facts. Spencer Dinwiddie looked like he was going to be pretty much a seamless transition at the start of the year, but he ultimately hasn't really got his scoring game going at all. Good rebounding, fine playmaking, but isn't really doing much for them from a scoring standpoint. And Montrezl Harrell looked like he was going to be a bona fide 6th Man of the Year candidate, and shot out of the gate looked like LA Clippers Montrezl Harrell to start the year. But he has really quieted down over the last stretch of games here now. He's had like 4 or 5 single-digit performances over this stretch in the last 7 or 8 games, and he only had one of those, if I'm not mistaken, prior to that. It's nowhere near as good from him. He hasn't been taking advantage of matchups as well. Some matchups haven't favored him as much, but others he definitely should have been taken advantage of, and he just hasn't. Davis Bertans is also my other negative link, but he's never been good. He signed a fat contract, and now he can't hit threes, so he's pretty much useless. Point being, there's definitely been some individual performances from the Wizards that just aren't holding up as much anymore. That's not to say it's all negative. KCP has been a solid veteran acquisition for this group and has been shooting very well from deep. Raul Neto has been a solid playmaker and backup point guard for this group, not some elite floor spacer or three-point shooter, or even scorer in general for the most part, although he can craft a little bit and get to the rim. But he just locks down that backup point guard spot very well for them and plays some solid minutes. Daniel Gafford continues to protect the rim well. Throw in some minutes there from Denny Avdia that have been fairly impactful, specifically on the defensive end, although we'd like to see more from him on offense. So things definitely aren't all negative for the Wizards, but there's a lot more negative than positive right now over this last run of games than you would like as a Wizards fan. I still think this is a good group. Of course, they are still missing Thomas Bryant. They are still missing Rui Hachimura. When those guys are going to be back is still a little bit unknown, especially with Rui Hachimura. And ultimately, I think this Wizards group is fine to compete for a play-in spot, but I don't really expect anything more than that. I don't expect them to stay as a top 5 seed. I don't expect them to be any threat or contender in the Eastern Conference. They were overperforming at the start of the year, no doubt about it. And are they better than I expected? Yes, I'm willing to admit that. They are at least a threat to get into the play-in games, because I'd kind of counted them out to start the year when I made my predictions. But ultimately, this Wizards group is not good enough to be atop of the Eastern Conference seed. And quite frankly, they're a little bit overhyped to some degree based off of their early season play. That being said, that is my honest thoughts on the Washington Wizards at this point in time in the season and how they have played based on their start of the year and their most recent stretch. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.